In the name of God Almighty, the most gracious, the most merciful, on behalf of Dr. Jamal Sanad Al-Suwaidi, Director General of the Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research, I'd like to welcome you at the Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research, where we meet this evening with a seminar entitled The Strategic Dimensions of the Joint Arab Military Force Project, held by retired Major General Dr. Saleh Al-Mayteh. Dr. Saleh Al-Mayteh was born in Jordan in 1953, reached the rank of Major General during his service in the Jordanian Armed Forces. He participated in a number of strategic level foreign military training courses. He had published as well numerous articles and studies on leadership management and strategic planning, and has participated in several conferences and seminars around the world. Retired Major General Dr. Al-Mayteh has held several leadership and academic roles, and now he is a strategic or a faculty member at the UAE National Defense College since 2012. He has a doctorate from Cairo University in Egypt. He has participated in a number of foreign seminars in the UK and the US and Germany and other friendly nations in the field of strategic studies. He has participated in moderating sessions in the field of conflict resolution. Sir, you have the floor.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God Almighty, the most gracious, the most merciful, allow me to express my thanks and gratitude to Director General of the Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research, His Excellency Dr. Jamal Sanad Al-Suwaidi, who constitutes value and worth for this great center, for paving for me the opportunity to talk to you about a very important subject, which is the talk of the town, as said. In an ever-changing world in its dimensions and current challenges, and this all due to the follow-up and wise leadership in the UAE, which made us realize that the force of the nation is not measured with geography and population, but with history and accomplishment and presence in all international and regional milieus. The title of this seminar would be The Strategic Dimensions of the Joint Arab Military Force Project. According to the subjects made available to you.
وحسب العناوين المتاحة أمامكم على الشريحة مشيرا هنا.
I would like to mention here that this seminar does not reflect the perspective of the nation and the armed forces, but my own perspective as a strategic researcher. At the end of the seminar, there will be time for questions. Hopefully, I could shed light on the main issues and challenges and opportunities for this project. I will not enter into details. The good elite which I have ahead of me this evening do not need that, because you are able to acquire and discover and build knowledge on your own. I shall start analyzing the developments of the strategic environment and the understanding of the military cooperation. When we talk about a military force, joint Arab military force, we are talking about a military cooperation, Arab military cooperation when it comes to the strategic and operational understandings and the complementarity of employment of resources. It is a cooperation in all aspects, and the issue of military cooperation is considered of vital importance for every Arab, starting from development, economic integration, to the military possibility of military integration. And from here, the military force, joint military force, will be the deterring force for and the shield for the Arab military interests. This cooperation is, in essence, and just to achieve the national objectives for the Arab nations, to protect Arab national security, to limit the interferences, foreign interferences, and to unify national efforts. And as such, we can benefit from the other people's experiences, such as the NATO, the European Union, GCC countries, bilateral partnerships and multilateral partnerships. Most researchers and followers see that the end of the Cold War has led to lack of or destabilization in the Arab world and regionally and worldwide. And the balance of forces also really got affected due to the demise of the Berlin Wall in the 90s of the last century, which led to 3 regional wars. Great wars, including the Iraqi-Iranian war, which lasted 8 years and led to the destabilization in the balance of forces, reaching the revolutions of the Arab world, which led to the lack of stabilization, political and security stabilization. And we are living in the moment the ramifications of all this lack of security in a number of Arabic countries, and the emergence of what is called the failed nations, and the lack of the integrity of the nations, and the resumption of the challenge of Russia and joining so many things. This terminology has been used in the Second World War, used by Germany to reach the Mediterranean and Tartus harbor in Syria. Russia is working so hard to keep Ukraine from joining the NATO and the use of the veto for any resolution taken by the Security Council against Syria. Why? Because Syria for Russia is the strategic vital depth in the Middle East and the pressuring card on the American administration, in addition to the gas and oil cards, where Iran holds tightly to these 2 cards, where Europe in particular in the world realize definitely that they are in need of the Iranian gas and oil, and they all realize that Iran is needed economically in the West, and it is politically really challenging from the management of 5+1 and the strategic mistakes that are in the region. And Iran has the gas and oil cards, and for Europe this is of vital importance. And if we go back, the really scale of trade exchange between Europe and Iran reaches $450 billion, and this is a great number, and both countries or both parties will not really sacrifice the relationship. Now they are living the status of building the alliances, international alliances, to fight ISIS and other terrorist organizations. Most of them are in the Middle East. In addition that, everyone is observing and following up what is going on in Yemen, the southern part part of the GCC countries and who are the main players in Yemen? This is a question which I'm asking for further deliberations at a later stage, and its effect on the Red Sea and Suez Canal, the Indian Ocean and the Arab Gulf, in addition to the different ramifications that affected the integrity of the nations and the emergence of what is called these mistakes between the peoples and the society in the constitution of some of the Arabic nations, where the identities of confessional identities really emerged at the expense of religious identities, and poverty, unemployment emerged highly, which led also to the emergence of international alliances and regional alliances to fight terrorism in the beginning. Let us really stress on in the beginning, quote unquote, because it is possible these new alliances might turn into tools to control the resources, or what is called the strategic terminology, the new geography of the conflicts, because the current and upcoming wars are resources, whether oil or gas or water or energy. They are wars of resources which move according to the geography of these resources, and therefore we call it the new geography of the conflicts. It is moving from Europe to Asia, from Asia to Middle East, and from the Middle East, God knows where. The interference in the integrity of some of the nations which really are suffering, these nations, from the lack of stability. This brief briefing about the ramifications in the Middle East and the world is an entry to say why we are in need of a joint Arab military force, regarded of the scale, the kind, and the level in the beginning. The European Union started with 5 countries producing coal. The NATO started with a number of countries. Now they are about to bring about most of the countries of the former Soviet Union republics, or the Caucasus area, which is filled with gas and oil. This international and regional strategic aspects lead us to ask the following questions. Are we in need of a joint Arab military force? And what are the objectives and the missions which will be given to this force, and what and when and where will this force be used, and what is the effect of this on the Arab concept, and how we will be building the strategy of the Arab defense upon which we will build a joint Arab force, despite the difference in the military strategies, trainings, armament, operations, theaters, and the fighting experiences. What are the strategic dimensions, and how we will be able to really to bridge these conflicts to reach an Arab joint Arab military force with military and security arms? The experiences in the modern history. This joint Arab military force is not new. And we can say that they weren't able to do it since ever, to create a joint force, since they signed this agreement of joint force, which is rarely used until the developments of the latest developments in Yemen has really promoted the need of this force, which has led to the creation of a joint Arab military force in addition to the 40s and the 50s of the past century, where the year 1948 represents the beginning of the military force, Arab military force. And those who want to go back to the Arab history in this respect would like to talk about the Arab military force, which was constituted to face the threats of Abdul Karim Qasim, the Iraqi president, back then in the 50s of the past century. And in the war of 73, when Egypt and Syria waged war on Israel without a decision from the Arab League, but some of the units of the Arab armies participated according to the agreement of joint defense agreement. And a number of Arab countries also participated in the financial support and logistical support. In the year 1976, also deterring forces, Arab deterring forces agreed by the Arab League has been constituted to really reign in the Lebanese civil war. It has constituted by 6 countries: Syria, Lebanon, Sudan, the southern Yemen, and the UAE back then. And the biggest number of these forces were from the Syrian army, and then the Arab forces really withdrew, and only the Syrian army remained in Lebanon, which stayed until 2005, and you know the remaining of the story. In the year 1991, the alliance's forces headed by the US participated in ending the the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. A number of also forces participated: Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Morocco. As for the current alliances headed by Saudi Arabia to support legitimacy in Yemen, according to the decision of 2216 from the UN Security Council and the Arab League. And on the margins of all this, we should really talk about the 70s of the past century, when King Hussein bin Talal, the late King Hussein bin Talal, really took the initiative of the Arabic falak in Arabic, which is said in Arabic, and it has emerged in the 50s of the past century. But in certain phases and certain aspects in the year 76, where the Arab world passed through different wars. We had the war 56, Yemen revolution 68, also the Arab-Israeli wars, which I mentioned, 67, 73, the invasion of Israel to the south of Lebanon, 82, Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, 90, the wrath also in the 90s, September 11, 2001, the occupation of Iraq, 2003, reaching the revolutions of the Arab Spring in the year 2011, and all this aspect really had certain fightings and conflicts. And one of the main challenges the Arabic region is facing after the withdrawal of the US from Afghanistan and Iraq, the idea of propagating Western ground forces in the region is no longer an idea. These traditional wars are now in decline. There has been an alternative now, and in this center 4 years ago, I was really attending a seminar when the former defense minister, American defense minister, said when the U.S. really went to Afghanistan, it had about 3,000 airplanes, and now the U.S. has 13,000 really unmanned airplanes. Is there a withdrawal in using traditional wars? Are there hybrid wars or proxy wars? I think that these questions should be asked on all those who are interested in the strategies and the future of the world. When it comes to traditional wars, we are not talking about the untraditional wars. May God keep us away from these wars. After it has been proven that the aerial forces are not able to conclude these conflicts, because after all these wars really went out of the geographical limits. The UK defense minister visited his own forces in Iraq, said that they will, or he will really put the army, the UK army, in Iraq for another 3 years. the whole Arab world, in his opinion, is under threat if we really took certain geographical aspects. Terrorist threat in Iraq and Syria is increasing. And on the borders of Jordan and Saudi Arabia, there is this threat. The countries, neighboring countries of Iraq and Syria, also in Iraq and Lebanon, also another threat for Bahrain from Iran, serious threat for Egypt in the Sinai desert and on the borders of Egypt and Libya. We cannot really face these challenges far. Its nature now is different, definitely different. It resembles the cancer where no therapy or no remedy is available. And when the Arabic countries that are feeling this threat do constitute a joint Arab military force, it realizes that facing the evil is of vital importance, and we cannot really depend or wait other people really to act accordingly. And this confrontation needs an Arabic NATO that really constitutes sustainable peace and protected from other people's threats. We turn to the constants, ramifications, tools of pressure and help. The idea of constituting a joint Arab military force was really proposed by Egypt at the Sharm el-Sheikh conference to be a force to interfere in the regions that really are dealing with certain conflicts, in addition to really keep these terrorist aspects from propagating. What are the strategic dimensions of these forces? First point is to activate the Arab military forces and preparing the forces to be ready to prepare. This preparation really prevails to prepare the nation, the forces, the operation theater, the media, the economy, and all the levels and tools of the national elements should be prepared previously to be ready. Definitely, as said in the Quran, to be prepared. So we should be prepared is to train, arm, cooperate, building alliances, agreements. To be ready means to be completely ready. This is the word to really implement what is needed and to really go through the experience of the joint defense aspect. Whether under the umbrella of the United Nations or in supporting the neighboring countries in the training and expertise, so many things. There are so many things in really managing so many aspects to take into consideration before really managing this, the complexity of these issues. And the aspects that some of the countries are really dealing with, how to promote everything, what's going on. And I think that the challenge, the main challenge for the constitution of the Arab Joint Military Force lies in the demise and the demise of armies and turning it into the armies of systems and regimes. When the national army turns into an army for the regime, this is a problem. In one of the interviews when we spoken about Syria, the army became the army of the regime. This really the relationship of the regime and the army, the relationship with the nation, and really the dismantling of these armies, turning into armies to really save and protect the regimes. We can really build on the forces of these shields. We should research and build on these forces and Arab alliances to constitute a military Arabic alliances in light of what's going on in the Middle East. Between the reality and capability on really managing do we have a capability on really adjusting, on being flexible and turning according to the changes, environmental changes? The Arabic regime, definitely regional regimes, have really faced a number of challenges during the past few years, and the Arabic region is the weakest link in the balance of the international milieus, where the policies and the aspects of the Arabic regions do not have any unity, and most importantly, they lack a certain lack of deterring non-Arab regional force. So I'm talking about Israel, Turkey, and Iran. These three forces, I think that they control the game, what's going on at the moment, which really kept us from creating a joint Arab project to really face what's going on. We have another challenge. The non-Arab neighboring countries cannot really compete with each other and cannot really fight directly, but it is using the Arabic countries or some of the Arabic countries as warring milieus for its own strategic plans and so many other names. Let us talk about the Turkish perspective. Turkey was really enthusiastic about this war headed by Saudi Arabia in Yemen, but it completely withdrew itself, and Erdogan's visit to Tehran is the biggest really challenge. The interests are of vital importance more than anything else. The trade volume reached $30 billion this year, and Russia, when it agreed on sending Iran the S-300 rockets, and I leave you to analyze on your own. And we are really, we have non-Arab countries, neighboring countries, which threat our economic aspect, economic, social, and so many aspects, and other neighboring countries that really export terrorist ideas and intellect. So how can we promote the Arab national security with its own dimensions? Because the dimensions of the national security has its own specifications. There's not only the military specification or dimension. We have food security, environmental security, weather security, health security, and so many other things. The comprehensive security starts with the responsibility of the taxi driver and reaches the helm. All the components of the country is really interested. How can we promote the security of the Arabic countries with all its dimensions amidst this strategic decision? The Sharm el-Sheikh summit and what is called the Asifat al-Hazm is the beginning of these aspects. This war has proven as a quantum leap and started building trust in the Western capabilities and respect of the Western parties for us, and headed by a Gulf leadership. It has brought back a new dynamic aspect. It is taking us into consideration through certain changes in the aspects of the Middle East. This war headed by Saudi Arabia turned the GCC countries, after really managing the Arabic nations by most of the successful economic aspects, really started from the GCC countries. This turning point made the GCC really as a strong point, security and so many other things, which is building for a new Arabic Middle East system. Because some are calling that they want a Middle Eastern system, an Arabic Middle Eastern system, where these non-Arab countries which I've spoken about are not there. We are talking here about an Arabic Middle Eastern system. Turkey, Iran, and Israel are not part of it. they are really in control of this scene. So those who are controlling this scene should be of vital importance and capable of really affecting other peoples. Usually, the Arabic countries really used to do it themselves, but with all pride through the GCC countries and this war, this theory now is gone, and the GCC countries now is taking the helm through a military force which really depended on the capabilities of the Arabic Gulf fighters and the Arabic supporting aspect to deter the Houthis after they have tried to control the nation. Joint Arab Defense Force, can we really depend on it as a method through analysis and follow-up? I find that the GCC countries are the most successful, most stable. Through these past centuries, unions council really were established and were gone in few years. What are the reasons which made the GCC countries more stable than others and more constant? And we should really build on this, on what is true and what is not, and not to build on really wrong things. So this constitutes the political and geographical aspect for the Gulf countries, which represents an integral part which is easy to deal with quickly due to the presence of infrastructure, roads and operation theater. I'm talking about the strategic dimension, military strategic dimension, because the most important thing for the country, so it is ready for wars, to prepare the operations theaters, as said strategically. This will help in preparing the tools and the materials amidst modern really transfers of knowledge and technology, and with professionalism. The leaders, political leaders in these countries are in harmony in its nature and very close to the aspirations of its nations, and deal with the issues of the nation with wisdom. And there are no differences and no problems within these countries, and this will never cause any hindrance to the Arab Joint Military Force project, which is proposed, which had a role. I'm talking about Al Jazeera Shield, which had a role in liberating Kuwait and this war in Yemen and supporting Bahrain. It's this cooperation between the GCC countries. This is of vital importance. There is another point which we should talk about, the integration of the economic capabilities which really they have. If we look at the economic aspect, it's a vital aspect. The Gulf economy competes, and in the top world 5 places, and it is worth billions. So any military work needs an economic arm and the political arm. And this is what I'm talking about. Why do we need an economic arm? The force of the US is with its economic arm supporting the political arm, and the political arm really supporting the military arm, for a very simple reason. When the GCC countries went to the Arab League to take the support in the international milieus for the initiative of the war in Yemen, they went to the Security Council, the Arab League, and they got the support. So the political arm is ready, and the economic arm is supportive. So the military arm should work very strongly. This is what we mean. Very important aspect, the presence of a certain harmony and the traditions, the cultures of the countries, of the nations of these countries helps a lot through these really analysis. And what I've mentioned earlier, we can discuss the idea of the military force as an entity on its own in its relationship with the strategy of the Joint Arabic Defense Project. Can it be activated or studied further and applied? We can say definitely that the propagation of terrorism and the actors of pressure on the Arabic countries make this joint work, military, politically and economically and so on and so forth, of vital importance, something urgent to be done, a national demand, a security demand, a political demand that should be worked with, and we should really pave the opportunities and the elements needed to make this project a success. The problematic of cooperation. What are the hindrances and the limits and the difficulties and the changes led by the Arab Spring revolutions and the ramifications of the Syrian conflict, Yemen conflict, Iraqi conflict, the nuclear project, Iran nuclear project, and so on and so forth. If we look at the dimensions of the Arabic military force, we see that it is really governed by three forces or three elements. First, the challenges of the geographic situation or location, the geopolitics of the countries are defined by certain policies. The geographical locations of certain Arabic countries are really threatened by water, food, and ideologies. We call it strategies in one of the studies that I've given. What are the challenges of the countries neighboring the Arabic countries? The Arabic countries have certain neighboring countries, and we are really in challenge with them, with water, for instance, such as Iran and Turkey. Other countries really are suffering from other problems. So the geographical location, really, the political geography imposes a certain geography. The challenges of the humanitarian force, the capability of really adjusting the technology and the numerous technologies that are there and the sources of threats and the tools faced by the Arabic nations, not on the level of the countries or on the single country. It is a threat, military threat, definitely. And we find in some of the Arabic countries there is certain really work in the weakness of the defense productions, and if there is, it is not competing definitely and not capable of really having modern technology. And here we really mention Rumsfeld and old wars when he said that technology should not reach the Middle Eastern countries that might be a basin for terrorism. After September 11, he said a word in the English language. He said, we would like to change right to know to right to need. He said we should change the right to know to know with the right to need. We give the countries what they need of technology, but not all technology, until we are able to really control everything, to change the right to know with the right to need. So this is in complete in disregard for everything. We are talking about the common aspects. We should be really optimistic, because we find a difficulty in these aspects. Always this crisis is an opportunity that lead you to success. This is how the Chinese really defined this crisis, as an opportunity. So those who are optimistic from every difficulty find an opportunity, but those who are pessimistic from every opportunity say that this is a difficulty. If we activate the role of the Arabic League, knowing that it is the political kitchen for the Arabic decision to activate the Defense Council, we can really create a general directorate for the armed forces to build on these elements, the GCC Council and the economic and political force that I have mentioned, and the economic and political arm. When we are talking about the geographical location, I would like to ascertain and mention that The Gulf Force and GCC countries, due to its importance, geostrategic importance, is capable on controlling three geopolitical belts. Some might wonder, what are these belts? Three belts. The geospatial belt, which needs an Arabic effort and a scientific effort, having technology, and we have the capabilities definitely on really importing the technology, adjusting to it, and using it if we had the industrial and scientific basis. When we talk about the dimensions of the strategy in the world, we had three dimensions. For instance, ground, aerial and marine dimensions. First was Britain, and it has withdrawn from when these airplanes really emerged. What is the fourth dimension, and who owns it? The spatial. And if the aerial and the spatial dimensions meet, 5 or 6 countries own that only in the world. And this is the understanding of the geopolitics and the spatial belt. The marine regional belt also is important for the GCC countries. It's to link the Red Sea with the Mediterranean and the Gulf Sea, reaching the Indian Ocean. We are talking about strategic dimensions, land belt. This will really give the Arabic countries and GCC countries a strategic movement and gives much more opportunity. So all these belts and dimensions can have their own strategic operations theater. How? This is the nucleus of the military force. And now the operations carrying out or being carried out in Yemen, everything is being activated, the three belts. And these will be increased due to the really location of Yemen and being or bordering other countries. This is a very distinguished situation. May God really work on prevailing peace in this region. If this project was of success, this force will change the basis of security, of national security. It will change our great military capabilities to employ these capabilities where it needs collective work, and dream can become true, hopefully. And as the European Union started with 6 countries, the cold countries, they are weak countries, and the NATO. Why did it start as a response to other threats? We should really be responsive to what is called business continuity in crisis, business continuity in crises. How can we be responsive ahead of that? For the threats of the regional countries, how can we be responsive of that? Through this group work or joint work, Iran, and really bluntly, it is really interfering in 4 Arabic capitals. How can we be responsive out of this interference? Through collective work, definitely. The project, Arab Military Force Project, still needs dialogue and the understanding of other people's perspectives. The first meeting and the second meeting of the military people really spoken about the organizational and really logistical dimensions until this protocol will be confirmed in the Arab League. No, we cannot really distinguish between the national security and other securities. All of these are really in congruence with each other. The really conclusions that upon which we can build our dialogue. The understanding of the military force showed us that it should be really defensive, deterring forces, to adjust with all the changes, the demands of the very strong countries. What does this mean? The Arabic countries, do they need to be strong countries, or the single country need to be a strong country? Yes. Now, we have 3 elements. the character of the country, the interests, and the force. How can we link these three together? No, whenever this character really grows, the interest grows, and we need a national force to protect it. The last point, this joint force will not keep these countries from their main objective. No, definitely. We have other things to do. They all work together hand in hand. The military solution helps definitely on really having these political solutions. The dialogue in Yemen has failed. Any dialogue should really go along with military preparation so that this dialogue can work and be a success, and this war really bringing back security is the main tool that says that they all work as a single element. And as such, thank you so much for your kind attention. We open the floor now for questions. Thank you. Thank you. Major General retired Dr. Saleh Al-Mayteh. The historical experiences for military cooperation, the problems that it faced, and the dimensions and strategic dimensions for really creating a joint Arab military force project in addition to the challenges that this project is facing. Now we open the floor for questions for half an hour. Kindly introduce yourselves and be brief so that we give the opportunity for everyone to ask questions.
السلام عليكم. الدكتور علي العمودي.
Dr. Ali Al-Amoudi, environmental researcher, former consultant at the UN Sustainable Development. Thank you for your seminar and what you have spoken about. I would like to mention something. Yesterday, I read at the Etihad newspaper about someone who has a really very interesting point. He is with us today, Dr. Jamal Al-Swaidi. He mentioned the Arabic forces when they start in the 50s and the 60s, when the Jamal Abdel Nasser, the leader of the nation, started with this project, which aims at the solidarity of a joint Arabic force. Now it's time to talk about this, about our need for this support for this military force, which was mentioned half a century ago. This Arabic project, and mentioned by Abdel Nasser, now is the need, or it was the need, that the leaders really of these nations back then have proven that they have no heart, or they don't really have their nations at heart. History, as they say, does it repeat itself? Is it time for us to need these leaders that really take the helm of this project, this war and Arabic alliance and Gulf alliance, and behind this force? Has it proven its capabilities? Yes, so we have the financial military capabilities, but there should be a leadership. And the leadership, really, this is what we lack at the moment. Thank you.
جزاك الله خير. شكرا دكتور.
نستقبل سؤال ثاني بعد. تفضل.
Thank you. Dr. Mustafa Eid, political and economic consultant. I have a defined question. Due to your own experiences, if you are asked to be as a part of doing this project, and can you really talk about this military dogma and the points that really are part of this military dogma? We shall try to really answer these questions in brief. First question: does history repeat itself? I shall answer it in one word. We are talking here about a very difficult Arabic situation, to be really polite. If we talk about the elements of national force for the Arabic region, they are huge, humongous. So in the 50s and the 60s, we used to talk about the Arabic unity. Now, those who talk about this, they tell him, no, this word, unity, has ended. I think there are certain aspects that go back to security. Instead of security, we go back to the integration, bilateral integration. This doesn't mean that this Arabic force should be made up of 23 countries or more. We are talking about this elite 2, 3, 5 countries, the affecting countries, the countries that can be of vital importance. Why did I quote the model of the GCC countries, building military capabilities and economic capabilities, the economic integration? Now there is the integration of the currencies, similar to the European Union. When it started, it was weak ahead of the dollar. Now it's the other way around. Yes, history will repeat itself and the integration will come back, but it needs the integration of the will, of the political wills, to be close to the to what the people need, to really implement what people needs. Economically, 25 years being a prime minister, he was told, "How did you save this country?" He said one word: I did not have intellectuals, and I didn't have strategists. When I thought of something, I go back to the people and the masses. And really, we must really participate with people in our own perspective. We should really talk to each other, not about each other. And as such, we shall really achieve miracles. The intentions are good, capabilities are there. We need someone to manage it. We should really build on the successes of this war in Yemen, what is called in Arabic Asifat al-Hazm. Building trust is of vital importance, and it needs lots of efforts exerted in this endeavor, building trust between leaders and peoples, and we shall really achieve miracles. The military dogma, to really respect the people present here. Perhaps most of you are civil. The army is an integral part of the armed forces, and one of the elements, economic and military and political element. Within that, the military dogma should emanate from the values and inherited traditions. Why am I fighting? What is the reason behind it? There is a strategic military strategy. How are the armed forces built? There is a national policy, military policy, the military dogma. It's like it's called the military confessions, not religious, military. This dogma, it goes back to history, values, traditions, so that the people and the military believe in their own objective. Why am I fighting? When I believe in that, we shall create miracles.
نستقبل أسئلتكم بعد. تفضل.
Dr. Mindai Lafi, retired captain, director of, former director of medical services. Thank you for your seminar. The main event at the moment is this war, عاصفة الحزم, what is going on in Yemen. In reality, this war has been of success on the ground because it entered into a region that it embraced the sons of the Arabic nation. It was two countries years ago. We did not find any people or anyone which really bring together these two countries when we are talking, and I am a retired captain. I was at the Al Jazeera Shield and in more than one really army. When we are talking here about this war, these people who have fought drastically, could have been a success without them. Kindly answer this question so that we find at the end those who have really fought have gone. Corruption in a number of countries, unfortunately, is ripe. Thank you.
سؤال آخر بعد. تفضل أستاذ.
السلام عليكم. أريد المساءلة.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a journalist. Dr. Saleh, as for Turkey and Iran, I think that we have a new enemy. Our main enemy is Israel. We have been able to create a war deterring this new enemy. Do you think so we are able to do that? Are we able to really do that against Israel? And why do we do that if we have the capabilities and the planes and the arms and so on and so forth? So what is keeping us from really using this war against Israel? Thank you for those who have asked these questions. Very good question. Why did this war be a success or on its way to be a great success? We should build on the success. The military dimension, and you are a military man like me. In the military campaigns, there are studies that we should really build on. In my opinion, if we take this war and the Arabic effort in bringing back hope, this really military campaign should be analyzed and studied and discussed in seminars as such, but after this operation is over. So this war might be the beginning. The example to build on it is of vital importance. Why is it of success? Because there is a will. I've mentioned a very important point, which is the basis. There are certain negative incubators and positive incubators. When we analyze wars, military wars, we analyze it according to the local, environmental, and military environment, which means that the international milieu supports this Arabic work or Arabic war headed by Saudi Arabia. The local environment, which is supportive. So really, I might be in support of this. The local environment in Saudi Arabia and Yemen. I'm talking about these countries that are really managing this operation. The current thing was ready to help, and they were ready, definitely. National really resistance. We are really defending with dogma, with a constant dogma. This is our nation. We believe in the aim and objective. Some of them needed to be trained, whether inside or outside, I don't know, to give them logistics, information, so on. This has really facilitated their operation. Now, there is a kind of flexibility in the operations. Now, the main aspect, which is the legitimacy, is on its way to be back. These incubators should be built upon. And these people Yemen, we are talking that the national war will be moving. The army was divided into three aspects: the Houthis, the Hadi, and Republic. Now, all these elements will be joined into one, and this needs the support of the Arabs. The question now, the person who is optimistic with this war. We started with a Gulf initiative headed by Saudi Arabia. Why don't we consider Iran an enemy? There is a traditional enemy and the possible enemy, and the third enemy as well. Because now there is a competition, definitely, interests. The interests of Turkey and Iran. Is it in Europe or in the Middle East? When we are talking about military, economic, and political interests, the sleeping cells, those who manage it, those who fund it, and so on and so forth, we should really focus that those who are really in control of the main operation in the Middle East, due to the aspects of weakness passed through the Arab countries and the training and armament sources, led to their entry into these flaws. No one is denying that Israel is an enemy, but this is a strategy that I cannot put myself. I am really giving you headlines. The main kitchen, Arab League, and military personnel. They are putting the priorities. The American management has supported this, blessed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yes, we really support it because it serves our interests. Now, if it's against Israel, what is the position of the international arena? We should really train ourselves to really have an effect in the international milieus. War is not only managed on the ground, but with all its international aspects.
العميد الركن متقاعد محمد فريحات كلية الدفاع الوطني.
National Defense Faculty, retired Major General. I have an intervention for the journalist who said perhaps I might in disagreement with him that Iran is a new enemy. This is a terminology that I might be in disagreement with. For Iran, regardless of the situations and the interests, it is an old enemy. And it has invaded Arabic land, and it has fought for 8 years, one of the Arabic countries, and an enemy that infiltrated in the Arabic countries, and most importantly, now in Syria and Yemen, and its interferences in stable Arab countries such as Bahrain and Lebanon. And now there are wars for the Arabic countries by a traditional enemy in Lebanon. And it has infiltrated also in the Arabic countries. The terminology of a new enemy might not be really important, just for further clarification. Thank you.
Sir, my name is Retd Rizwan. I'm the Pakistan Defense Attaché.
Please raise your voice شوية حتى أسمع السؤال. أنا بالإنجليزي بجوز أفهمه 50-50.
Sir, it was a pleasure to hear your views on the subject. Military force is applied where diplomacy fails. once diplomacy has, I mean to say, failed, their militaries come in. The Middle East region has been in a state of turmoil for good about 30, 40 years. Do you think that it was practically a lack of military force by virtue of which this turmoil was consistent, or was it a lack of diplomacy and political will and force by virtue of which this state prevailed? Secondly, force has really not produced results. We can see it in the case of Vietnam, we can see it in the case of Afghanistan, Iraq, Iraq on Kuwait. Practically, force does not really, we've seen even superpowers not really being able to achieve with all their military force their political objectives. So do you really think that diplomacy needs to be focused on as a joint diplomatic force within the Middle East, or do you think that a joint Arab military force is the solution? Thank you very much.
كل الشكر على هذا السؤال الجيد.
Thank you for this beneficial question. It needs a complete seminar on its own. When we talk about diplomacy and politics and military strategy, I think that we cannot really distinguish between diplomacy and military force. Who gives the decision for war? The military men decide, or the politicians decide, and the military men really implement. The military men give really recommendations, and therefore there is an administration, and they give really propositions for the decision makers. The role of diplomacy is active, definitely, and fragile and flexible, definitely. What the strategy, when we talk about the elements of the force of the nation, we talk about the political element, the economic element, the military element, the social element. These aspects are strategic. The political element in a country should be active, flexible, and effective in the international milieus, and convincing this element that really was before this war in Yemen really was a success on affecting the Security Council. The diplomacy, dear sir, we cannot really differentiate it from the military dimension, which is implementing, which is maturing the political operation, and the military operation really matures the other way around. So the strategy follows the politics. Politics gives the headlines. The strategy really works in details. The strategy of the nation and the politics of the country. The diplomacy Arabs lack the unified speech. We are not talking with one voice in the international milieus. One of us really support, and others denounce, and others substantiate from talking. Our decisions need a unified diplomacy in the economic aspect, diplomacy in the war field. Our problem in the world, the economic really element might be of really support in some other countries and pressuring in other countries. Yes, for this reason, the Arabic country has passed through, or since tens of years ago, in what, in my opinion, I call it the budget or the gap between the Arabic world can really be mended through bridging. We are trying through these great initiatives to bridge these gaps and to contain each other, to have this national efforts exerted be unified. Military capabilities in the Arabic world do not need definitely to wait for other people's support, not when it comes to the military dimension, when it comes to scale and technology or kind. A simple example, some might really feel what I'm saying as strange. We're not talking about the number of tanks and airplanes. Iran has a great number of airplanes and tanks when it comes to the quantity. GCC has a better quality of airplanes. For instance, capability on maneuvering, adjusting, the speed. This is what we mean by comparing military capabilities. We need to really revise this, to unify it, to modernizing, training, armament. The problem was the multilateral facets of interests. Now, we are heading as people, as nations, as leaders to be unified and have our objective interests one. Thank you very much. At the end of this seminar, I would like to reassert on behalf of Dr. Jamal Sanad Al-Suwaidi, Director General of Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research, would like to reiterate our thanks for the Major General, retired Dr. Saleh Al-Mayteh. Thank you very much. I call you to join us for dinner, and hopefully we meet at another seminar. Thank you.
شكرا.